Episode of Wellness Insider. I'm Tiara Hadi, and today we have with us Dr. Theo Kieu. He's a chiropractor.
Yes.
Yes. He's currently practicing in Light Chiropractic in Singapore?
Yes.
Okay. So tell us more about what you do and what is this big idea of chiropractic?
The big idea of chiropractic is actually bigger than most people think it is. A lot of people associate it with just pain removal, but really the big idea is there's innate intelligence inside of us. And our jobs as chiropractors is actually to help people reconnect with this intelligence within.
Very interesting. So actually, what got you into this line of work?
Well, I was getting chiropractic care when I was 14 years old, and my brother happened to go to school to become a chiropractor at the same time. So it felt very natural for me, and after that, I just fell in love with this concept that the body can heal itself.
Yes.
And
It's
I
very
always wanted.
alternative?
It's
considered an alternative medicine?
I don't consider it alternative.
Okay.
I mean, it's alternative to our culture because most of mainstream health is like hospitals and getting medical tests, and all of those things are great, but generally those things are more preventative or they're on later stages of health, meaning if you have heart disease, then you take this medication, or if you have cancer, then you come in for chemotherapy.
It's more fixing the problem.
Well, it's more on what I consider if you make a spectrum of being well and being sick, it's on the later stage of being sick.
Okay.
Kind of like when the
When
fire's
things have
already
developed.
Yes.
And then okay, interesting. So tell us more about what's the difference, because when we think chiropractic, it's more like bones and spine. Yep, correct. So what's the difference between that and physiotherapy, for example?
like I alluded to earlier, there's a big idea. So that's probably the biggest distinction. But if you want to look at it from hindsight, we deal with moving the joints in people's bodies. Whereas physios, although they do what they consider manipulation, we call it adjustment. They adjust. They're not trained to the same extent as we are.
Okay.
They're on more like stretching and doing modalities like ultrasound, using any type of machine to help people become more flexible and whatnot.
Okay.
So that would be under the category of physio. Ironically, in the States, we take physio classes, so we're licensed in America to do physio care.
Okay.
So I know quite well what physio is.
The broadest spectrum.
Yeah, and I have idea what chiropractic is. Unfortunately, in school, since we're going to chiropractic school and people are doing physio and chiropractic, there's a kind of a overlap.
Yeah.
And people have, including people in my profession, have trouble distinguishing what is the difference.
Okay.
Including from the public's perspective, because the public's perspective is based
They're kind
on
of like the same thing.
Yeah, and it's part of our fault.
You crack your bones.
But cracking bones is what we do, and that's how we release life. We essentially experience life through the nervous system.
Exactly.
So there's a brain, there's a spinal cord, and however you experience life is integrated in this network called the nervous system.
What about osteopathy?
Osteopaths, they also do similar things, but they tend to not have those principles like innate intelligence and so on. So that's the biggest difference, and that's why I started off with the conversation that the biggest difference is our principles.
Okay.
We actually have a philosophy, and some people may think, well, philosophy has nothing to do with healthcare. It should be about science.
Yes.
But every successful business, even Starbucks, has a philosophy. And the philosophy is about people.
Drives it.
Yeah. Starbucks doesn't sell coffee. They sell relationships. They sell a place for people to connect.
Yeah.
So in chiropractic, we have a similar model. It's about self-connection.
Very interesting.
So we do have a community in our practice where people connect with each other.
Yeah.
But normally the first consultation and the visits come with helping people reconnect to themselves, and obviously they connect to me as well.
So it's like a journey.
Yes. And I really get people to hopefully fall in love with the journey of their life rather than what is really causing them pain, because a lot of whatever their journey they've been through in their life has given them this byproduct of whatever they're coming in to suffer from.
So, I mean, it's interesting that you bring up this point, because people just look at chiropractic as just like what I said, cracking bones, and it's just like a physical movement to relieve pain and such. But what you bring up is more of like what we talk about, like a journey. And a lot of people that come in, do you see people with like sports injuries? And
they do, and some people aren't really interested in that part of my practice, to be honest. Some people are. But I'm pretty good at convincing them. If they have long-term goals, they'll get their short-term goals done quicker. And once they get that, they actually save time and money from coming in for pain relief.
Yeah, pain relief.
But really, the emphasis of the practice is to get people to appreciate their bodies, and that includes being in pain. Because really, it's
alleviating the whole.
Well, the pain is really meant to get them to audit their lives better. It could be the fact that they're working so hard. It could be the fact that they're sacrificing themselves for their families. They're sacrificing themselves for their companies. And they're forgetting to love themselves through the process.
That's very true.
Most people get it because it's what they're experiencing in their life.
It's stress.
Yeah, stress.
Yeah. So a lot of people in Singapore, like 60% of them I've heard, are actually they complain of stress, work stress, and heavy workload. So what are your takes on this?
It's true, but
how does this affect the whole body and the system?
80% of our conditions. Some studies go as high as 90%. Some studies go as low as 70%. Have to do with stress. So whether you're suffering from cancer or back pain or osteoporosis or heart disease, a good portion of the condition is stress related. And it doesn't mean that exercising and doing all these things isn't important. It's still 20%. And sometimes if you just do the 20%, like if you begin to exercise, you start feeling better, you start feeling more confident. So backwards to working on the stress, you can also work on the body, and if the body feels better, then your mind will be better too. So there's different approaches, and that's what people get when they come in for chiropractic care. It's very mechanical and physical, but they actually feel some relief. And the action in which they just come in for care, it's an act of love. It's an act of self-love. So just that coming into that, or coming in to exercise, or coming in to do whatever that's good for your health.
Exactly.
And again, that part of health is not really emphasized in our culture, and it's the most important, because if you wait for your body to get into the end stage of disease, it's usually too late.
And they can't do much about it.
And if it's not too late, it'll cost them a lot of time and money and heartache from their families.
So what can we do? Like, I think you'd like to share with our audiences how you can actually reduce stress at work, and how we can...
Well, stress can be reduced. That's the problem. But our perceptions can. Stress is a part of the fabric of society that we live in. It gets us to build value in other people's lives. If there wasn't stress, there wouldn't be
a driving force.
There wouldn't be technology. There wouldn't be these amazing cameras that we're using to film this video. So stress is good. It connects us. Facebook is a byproduct of that. So even though I'm here in Singapore, I'm able to connect with my family. I'm able to connect in my business from people all over the world. And this video that we're doing, it's the same.
It's all progress.
Yes, it's progress. So stress shouldn't be necessarily we shouldn't get rid of it, but we should really have a different perception on what it really is.
Okay.
So that's what I really do in my practice. I get people to realize that life's difficult.
Yes.
And we just have to do our best to take good care of ourselves during the process of taking care of others. That's it.
So nicely said. Very nicely said.
Yeah.
But through this episode, actually, we wanted to talk about.
Well, going back to the stress thing, sorry. Yes, it could be reduced. And one of the mechanisms I use in my practice is gratitude.
Gratitude.
Yeah, so you count your blessings, and it starts with the body.
I think that's very
so
important.
normally in my consultations, I get to have people realize that their bodies are actually supporting them, and how thankful they should be for their bodies, despite of whatever thing they're doing to it, like losing sleep, working too much, eating horrible food. And I'm not, when I say these things, I don't say these things to judge people. I understand where they're coming from.
Exactly.
When you're stressed, you just maybe need some indulgent stuff to make yourself feel better.
Exactly.
But then again, those are just short-term fixes, and so is drinking
Your body is a
alcohol
vehicle for you.
and doing all these things. Occasionally doing these things to de-stress aren't necessarily bad things, but if we need these things on a continual basis, then it starts to become a problem. So having gratitude and getting people to count their blessings, and I use the body as an example of how the body actually creates support for them. So when the muscles are tight in your body, when you're stressed, your body's really telling you, go home. Go home.
So what's the link between like stress and posture? Like what you just mentioned, it's actually like the tightening of your muscles and your...
Most of our health problems, if like what I said earlier, most of our conditions come from stress, then it has to come from the brain. Because
it's all in the mind.
Yeah, a good portion of our mind is in the brain. Some people think the mind's in the entire body, like in Chinese medicine, it's actually true. But for argument's sake, let's base it on
scientific.
Yeah, science. But actually there's a science in what I'm talking about with the body as well.
Exactly.
But that aside, if whatever we're perceiving in the brain is causing us stress, we have to study how the brain works. There's different parts of our brain that control different things. There's the back part of the brain called the occipital part that sees, that's in charge with vision. There's a temporal part that listens. There's a limbic part that feels emotions. There's a prefrontal cortex that makes decisions for us. 90% of our brain is actually unconscious.
Yes.
Right?
We're only using a very less than 2%.
Some people say 5, some people say 10. So it's between 5 and 10%.
Maybe I'm just using that 2%.
Yes, but we are using it because right now your brain is controlling your heart, it's controlling your immune system, all these things.
And it's amazing how this is all done subconsciously.
Yeah, and there's actually a part of the brain called the cerebellum that's linked back here. That controls posture. That tells us how to walk.
Balance, right?
Yeah, it helps with balance, it helps with the way we sit, and all of these things are not, that we don't think about them.
Yeah.
So we can't possibly control our posture due to our intellect. Or our prefrontal cortex, the one that decides to make decisions. But the amazing part of the prefrontal cortex is it has the power to override any part of the brain. So I can fake my posture. I can.
That's why they say mind over matter.
Yes, I can be talking to you, but if I don't want to listen to what you say, I can pretend you're saying something else. Right? If I wanted to, I could listen to Mozart. I can imagine seeing whatever I want to see. But it's highly dangerous to live like that all the time. You know,
in your head.
You would be delusional.
Exactly.
Right? So, therefore, most of our passive brain should be unconscious. So going back to emotion, emotion plays a big role in our posture. In fact, the limbic system, I wish I brought my brain model with me. Yeah, the limbic system controls emotion. So it's the center part of the brain, and that's the only part of the brain that communicates with just about every other part of the brain. So most of our brain function is based on emotion. So we make decisions due to our emotions. So when people buy things, they do it emotionally. When they listen to music emotionally. In fact, most of the songs that we listen to, like in pop music, we don't really listen to the lyrics. We listen to the beat. We listen to how it makes us feel.
Exactly.
And we look at things emotionally too. So when we see someone we love, or we see a child running around, or if we see someone suffering, we have some emotion involved in it.
So I think this brings the idea of chiropractic into a bigger sense and perspective, like you were saying, that it's not just about the body, it's about your mind as well. And, you know, in such a sense that it's how you can control things using your mind.
Yes. Well,
like
I wouldn't say control.
Like therapy session that you need to do with your
Kinda. I am a bit of a therapist, but most professions are. I mean, even bartenders are therapists.
Yeah. They're the best.
Right, they will just give alcohol to people, and then people will just spill the beans. Yes.
They have to listen.
So again, we're a people-based type of society, so most successful businesses make people feel better. It doesn't matter what you do.
Exactly.
But again, going back to posture, certainly being angry or being in a level of stress tends to put the body in a more defensive state. When people come in with trust and love and gratitude, their posture tends to be like this. So when people are stressed in our society, they tend to be in a more protective state rather than a state of trust and grace.
Wow, this is great for mothers who are telling their children, you know, not to slouch. You should do it with love.
Well, going into that, what mothers should be doing is encouraging and empowering their children. So that would be a good catalyst to get them to improve their posture.
Great.
So again, the intellect doesn't it doesn't manipulate posture. It could, but it's not meant to. So one of the best ways you can improve people's posture is give compliments to them.
That's the first time I've ever heard that.
Yeah.
It's
In
always
fact,
don't slouch.
They've done studies, and a woman did a talk on TED Talks, and she talked about how posture affects interviews. So they found when people have better postures, they did better on interviews.
Really?
Yes. So how you feel emotionally. And again, going back to the whole gratitude level, I give people these tools to use in their own life. So anytime they're feeling down, if they're grateful for whatever happened, they're most likely to get out of their situation. So let's say someone gets fired from their job.
Yeah.
If you're grateful for being fired,
then you'll be happy and you'll be upright.
And you'll find another job quicker. Going back to the
really?
Yes. Like I said, that's
study. That's just the universe working for you.
Well, it does work for you, but it happens in here first. So then the concept of inside out in the practice, which I didn't mention yet, but I mentioned it, is very important.
Okay.
But again, you know, we don't really live in an empowering society all the time. We live in a very judgmental society sometimes.
Exactly.
And it starts from our parents sometimes, depending on whatever household. And it starts from our educational system. In schools, we're being judged.
Yeah.
Only about 10% of the students actually do well. The 90%, they're just average or just okay. So it's really hard to have good posture based on the environment that we're living in. So in my practice, I actually ask a lot of parents to bring in their kids.
Oh, why?
To help them have better posture. One, on a mechanical level, and two, it's we're helping them, or we're giving them an environment that actually is pro-life and pro-encouragement of things.
You get more things done with that, like encouragement and love, as compared to negative.
Well, negative things are good too, because in order to grow, we have to be challenged.
Yes, I agree.
Yes, so really,
you can't have old roses and dandies.
Yeah, and like I said, you know, life is difficult. That's just the truth of it, and it should be stressful. So getting people to realize these truths is a very important start in my practice.
Yeah. So what key messages would you like to tell our audiences?
Coming for chiropractic care.
Chiropractic.
But aside from that, be grateful. Be grateful for your body. Be grateful for yourself, and don't forget to love yourself. That's my message.
I love that. I love that it's not just your body. It's a holistic view on things.
Yeah, I mean that's that's what I call software. Most of our lives are,
Yeah.
are based on software. Our bodies are hardware.
Yes.
The chairs that we're sitting on, it's made of hardware. But it took someone's idea to make this chair. It took someone's idea to build this building. So we're all based on consciousness or mind or ideas. My parents had an idea. Let's make our lives more special, so they had me.
I love that. We should all say that. That's what we should say.
We should.
When I asked my parents, why did you have children? Oh, because you could do the housework and I could sit down.
Yeah, well, sometimes people just say, if you're a mean parent, you would say, oh, we didn't plan to have you.
Yes. You were a surprise.
Yes. But
And then
that being said, I
do.
do talk about universal intelligence in my practice, and I say there is a higher order to life.
Yes, I agree.
And again, I didn't mention in our talk so far, but I believe life supports us. Life supports us no matter what. So this intelligence within us supports us, and the intelligence outside of us also supports us.
Yeah. Thank you so much for being here.
My pleasure.
Yes. We'll see you soon. Bye.
Bye.
She came up to me and then she started asking me about, her knee and all that. And then I looked at her and her knees literally were like, her kneecaps were like